بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني من الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So we continue our discussion about time. When it comes to significance of time, you know, Allah says wal asr. He swears by time or afternoon or time. And then innal insana lafi khusr. What is khusr? What is loss?
It's when you're not benefiting from the moment.
Loss is when you lose your capital. Sometimes loss is you don't make profit. But here khusran is when you lose your capital. Fakhr Razi says that one of the previous ulama said, I learned the meaning of this surah from someone who was selling ice. من بائع الثلج كان يسيح ويقول. In summer he was selling ice. He was saying, ارحموا من يذوب رأس ماله. ارحموا من يذوب رأس ماله. So this is the meaning of khusra. If you don't sell this ice quickly, it melts and you lose your capital. Okay? So our life is like this. It's like ice melting and you are not going to have anything unless before that you use it properly. You sell your life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allah ashtara min al-mu'minin. So if you manage to sell it in advance, that's good. It will be saved. So I have mentioned also this hadith here from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Kun ala umrika ashah minka ala dirhamika wa dinarik. With your life, be more miserly than with your gold and silver. If someone asks me gold or silver, I am hesitant to give maybe, unless I know the person, I know he is needy, etc. But with time, we are more generous normally. Yeah? So we easily let people take our time and waste it. Yes, sometimes you are a scholar, you are a teacher, you have to help someone, that's different. But someone says, let's go, for example, somewhere, a smoke, or I don't know, have shisha, or I don't know, things like this. People go spend, hours, even in the months of Ramadan, sometimes spend the whole night in just socializing. But if you ask the same people, give me your watch or give me your money, say no. Give me your time, no problem. So if you do it really for the sake of good purpose, you say, I want to meet mu'mineen, I want to be with the youths, that's good. But sometimes without purpose, we just give away our time. Okay? I remember the story Sheikh said that, a joke. He said, someone said, can you give me money for a month? Lend me some money for a month. He said, I cannot give you the money, but instead of a month, I can give you 1 year. So with time, he was generous. I mentioned a story also here that once a beggar asked a shopkeeper to give him a pack of walnuts. He was surprised. A beggar, you should not ask for a pack. And the beggar then said, okay, give me one nut. And he gave me one. Then he was sitting there, and after some time he said, give me one nut. So he has spent a few hours and made that person busy few hours, and then finally got the pack. So he said, you should have given me at the beginning, not wasting your time. So sometimes we don't give time at the beginning, but when we later see, how much time I have given to this project or this group, if I knew, I was not happy. So in our life, we often resemble this shopkeeper. We become worried if someone wants to take our money or our possessions, and if someone asks for 100 hours of our time, we find it difficult to accept. But the same amount of time is taken from us gradually in small portions, and we are totally oblivious. Okay? Imam Ali said, "Inna umuraka adadu anfasaka." Your life is a set of number of breaths. So every breath you make, you are closer to end. وَعَلَيْهَا رَقِيبٌ يُحْصِيهَا, and an observer is counting them. So wasting time leads to achieving less or nothing. And also we should remember that lack of promptness in fulfilling our plans may lead to missing valuable opportunities. Opportunities are far more limited than time. Time is limited, but opportunities are far more limited. Yeah? They come and pass quickly. فَإِنَّهَا تَمُرُّ مَرَّ السَّحَابِ. And opportunities often appear unexpectedly. So you have to be very alert and conscious. Okay? Imam Ali said, "Al-fursatu tamurru marra as-sahab, fantahizu furas al-khair." They pass like clouds. So seize opportunities for goodness. Or he said, "Al-fursatu sari'atul faut, bati'atul aud." Quickly expire and is very slow to return. Okay? Then I said, if you have proper time management, it's like having miraculous power. It's like magic. With the same time that everyone has, but if you are good in organizing and managing your time, you can do wonders. The late Sayyid Muhammad Kazim Tabatabai, Sahibul Urwat al-Wuthqa, one of our great ulama, he says, "Tawzi'ul waqt tawsi'uhu." Time expands through adequate allocation. If you plan well, you can look after your family, look after community, study, spirituality, work, but with planning. But if you don't plan one thing, two things, get all your time and you become tired and exhausted. Tashtitul waqt tafwituhu. But if you mismanage, then you will lose your time. Especially if you divide it too much into too little things. You have to prioritize. I said some examples here. For example, we have that Akhund Mullah Ali Hamedani always carried a book with him. Wherever there was a small amount of free time, he would read. He was always carrying a book with him. And despite many responsibilities that he had as a teacher, as a marja, and he had also to look after his elderly mother, it is said that, this second one is about Sheikh Ansari. Despite being marja and teacher and looking after his mother, every day Sheikh Ansari would perform Salat Ja'far Tayyar. Every day. Recite one juz of Quran, recite Ziyarah Jami Kabira and Ziyarat Ashura. Ma'rifah and good time management. Ayatollah Sheikh Muhammad Hussein Isfahani Qaravik, known as Kompani, teacher of Ayatollah Khouyi, etc. He had many students, responsibilities, but he used to recite Suratul Qadr 1,000 times every day. Imam Khomeini's grandson says that he was never seen wasting even a minute. He would allocate a specific amount of time for his students, his worship, his family, and walking. He was very committed to walking. He would never miss walking, even if it is in the same room, he had to walk. When he was walking, he would listen to the radio because he wanted to follow up. Even he was listening to some radios of people who were not good with Iran. He wanted to have first-hand news, what they say about Iran. And sometimes instead of listening to radio, he was reciting Ziyarah Ashura and doing Sat Salam, etc. when he was walking. In Najaf, he was famous for being so punctual in attending Salatul Jama'ah that some shopkeepers would set their watches by him. They knew the exact time he would be coming and going. He was not going earlier one day, later another day. During the few months of his exile in Turkey, before he went to Najaf, he was in Turkey for a few months. He compiled Tahrir al-Wasila in those few months in exile, which is one of the best contemporary works on fiqh. If someone else was maybe just taking a few months to adjust. Mullah Ahmad al-Naraqi, who has many books on akhlaq and tafsir, etc. So he had this habit, maybe a little bit funny. Whenever he was going for a break and going to restroom and making wudu, okay? So for his break, he had a plan that he composed some poem. So he has a book, collection of poems called Masnaviya Taqdis. And it's all the poems he made when he was taking break. So with using these little times here and there, you can maybe learn another language. Maybe, you can read books, I remember when Ayatollah Khamenei was president, he said he read 8 volumes on Imam Ali by Abdul Fattah Abdul Maqsood, the Egyptian writer, all in bus. I think he was for some time in Tehran taking bus. He read all 8 volumes on the bus. So some of the enemies of our time. What are enemies of your time? Number 1, unnecessary communications. Yeah, it's one of the maybe the first enemy of time. Calling, messaging, chatting online can consume a great deal of our time. Moreover, much of it is not really necessary. Sometimes it's necessary. For example, for me, if I don't spend 2-3 hours on these things, I lose my connections with people. So for me, it's my work. I have to be careful about not losing contact, answering, etc. But I have to be careful not to, for example, surf internet too much, follow the news too much, etc. You have to be careful. we should learn to differentiate between important communications and useless chatting. And I have suggested that also might be good to have digital fasting on some days or during some time, so that you don't do things habitually. Yes. Harder than not eating anything. Indeed, if we do not have a proactive approach to this issue, we are bound to engage in many needless communications. We may also give unhelpful answers and statements which could be avoided if we did not feel compelled to respond instantly. So one of the things is also not to rush in answering. Take some time and think about it and give answer. In the past, responding to a letter was a long drawn out. So you receive by post a letter and you don't answer immediately, yeah? You read it in the night, for example, you write, maybe answer tomorrow, then next day you take it to the post office. But now everything is instant, unless you have a plan. In the past, people used to write a draft, then check it and write it again. But now, quickly sending. Although modern means of communication do not offer this process by default, we can choose to establish our rules of engagement. So you can have your own rules for engagement. When to reply, how much, how. Number 2, another enemy of time is embarking on poorly prepared projects. Preparing and planning project may take years to complete. Undertaking something that has not been adequately thought out and arranged sets up for failure and is also a major waste of time. Many times there are projects, they don't finish, they don't bear fruits, time is made. Many times they spend on meetings, discussions which don't get anywhere. So one of the things we do in our institute is that we try to reduce the time we spend for projects. So if we want, for example, to send a muballigh somewhere, etc., we try to discuss everything, consult, and then maybe in 1 hour, 2 hours, we make the decision, and then the person, takes the ticket, etc., and goes. In some institute, it takes months to do this. I remember always that once one of the ulama from East Africa, he visited us, and he said he had set up a house, and he was waiting for an institution to send them teachers, and he said they have been slow. I said, we can send you teachers, and also we trust you. If you can look after the tickets and expenses, it's fine. If you say you don't have money, we pay for tickets and you take care of the logistics, etc. So alhamdulillah, mashallah, before he returned, our 2 brothers were there. So this is the way we work, we don't waste time normally. We are not, of course, masoom, but so when we talk to people, I say, we don't have time to talk. If you are serious, whatever we decide, we have to do it. Even if I have to borrow money, So when I started Catholic Shia Dialogue 2003, more than 21 years ago, I didn't have money, I didn't have support, but I put my trust in Allah. I discussed with Catholic friends. I said, for example, we sent 8 people. I didn't have any money. I said, if needed, I can sell my house, But Allah sent me money, but I didn't say, okay, let me go back and discuss with people. Can I get money? Then people promise you money. Then at the end they say, sorry, we cannot give you. We are now running short of money. Many of things which are done by organizations, unfortunately, there is delay and cancellation. They make decision to, for example, hold dialogue, then another person says, no, for political reasons we should cancel. this doesn't take us much forward. We have to plan with thinking, with consultation, with sincerity, but make sure that this materializes. Everything that materializes prepares for the next thing. But if you keep canceling, delaying, people lose trust. So we have to be very careful about time. Working with unresponsible or with unreasonable people or irresponsible people. Occasionally, the support or the guidance that we offer proves to be of great benefit, but some interactions are not productive. So your sincere intention is to help people, but you have to be economical. Don't waste your time by giving advice to everyone, every group. If they ask you, but otherwise, you have to have your plan. Because you have limited time, limited energy. Like businessmen that try to find where it's good to invest, we also have to find good hearts and minds to invest. At times there is no appreciation from the recipient, or they may even get upset. Of course, our Islamic duties must remain intact, but at the same time, rulings related to these duties take into consideration the outcomes. So we should avoid wasting our time and our energy when engaging with some people has proved to be not useful or even counterproductive. Okay, so I shouldn't say my duty is, to talk to these people forever. At the same time, also I should not, quickly dismiss the chance and say, these are useless people. But I have to find that there is a balance. Okay? For example, even when it comes to people who are recipients, for example, I used to travel to Canada, a lot. But before KLC, I was visiting different communities, giving 10 lectures, etc., for example, then dialogue, etc. But after KLC, because I saw KLC is maybe more thirsty and also there has more potentials, then my first reason for going to Canada was to spend time with KLC. I didn't then visit other communities that much. Yeah, I had to choose. I prioritized KLC because I saw people are interested and eager, and also it's a continuing work, so I prioritize that. So you have to be selective. Number 4, unrestrained media consumption. This is another enemy of time. We need to have a clearly defined policy for everything, whether it be watching TV, reading the news, surfing websites, or engaging with social media. On the one hand, we cannot ignore everything that is happening in the world and around us. On the other hand, we should not find ourselves browsing through the news for hours every day. Indeed, being overly saturated with information is as bad as being uninformed. I say if you want to stop people functioning properly, you can do 2 things. One is not to give them information. One is to give them too much information. In some countries, they don't give information, there's censorship. In some countries, they bombard you with information. The result is the same. You are confused. You don't know what to do. A mature individual should be able to have adequate control of his or her media consumption. Then after discussion about enemies of time, there's discussion about choosing the right timing. This is also very important. A part of wisdom is to detect whether this is the time for doing this project or this trip, etc., or not. To do it earlier or later may not lead to success or may not lead to the same level of success. Rasulullah said, Al-umuru marhunatun bi-awqatiha. Every affair depends on its timing. Not to rush, not to delay. Find the right time. Okay? A wise and insightful person should know which time is most appropriate for an action. For example, you want to buy a land, you want to build a mosque, you want to start a business, you want to establish a school, you want to go for a trip. For everything, you have to find the best time. Yes?
Can you say this is kind of like
Practicing? Infaq? You mean in infaq also we should find the right time?
No, like here it says whether buying land or building a mosque or borrowing money kind of at the right time.
Yeah.
Spending time or energy or
Yeah.
resources where it's needed.
Yes.
Say it similar?
Yes. Yes. Sometimes, for example, there is a land available to buy for the community. If you delay, that land is gone and you never find the same location, the same land. So you have to not delay. Sometimes there is a land available, but it's not good time because few months later maybe it becomes cheaper. If people know market, they can know that, you know. So we cannot always say do things as soon as possible. Do things in their own time, but when the right time comes, do it as soon as possible. Okay? Another thing is considering priorities. So considering the right timing is very important, considering the priorities. Even good things that you are sure they are good, you cannot do all of them. Time is limited, resources are limited, manpower limited. So you should always have priorities to deal with. Okay? Imam Ali said, "Man ishtaghala bighayr al-muhim ضيع الأهم." Man ishtaghala bighayr al-muhim ضيع الأهم. Engagement with less important affairs compromises more important ones. Okay? So our challenge is not to do haram or not to do haram. Inshallah, our community members have passed this stage. Our challenge is what are the priorities, even among good things. Yes?
Would you say gaining knowledge should be the top priority?
Yes. One of the things is gaining knowledge, sure. The ability to identify priorities is the hallmark of a wise and experienced person. So this is very important. You know, in the same way that we say there is mustahab, there is wajib. Even among things which are wajib for us as a community and necessary, priorities. For example, sometimes I say this example, there can be exceptions, but I say, for example, we are in a city not established. We need a mosque or community center, we need also a school. Which one is priority? People say mosque is maybe priority, it's house of God, we pray, etc. But I say building a school is priority. Because in the school we can meet, we can say prayer. But not necessarily in the center we can have a school. So to begin with, if I am going to decide, I start with building a school, then mosque. But sometimes we see in a city we have many mosques, not even one school. So priorities are not found properly. It can also vary from place to place. One person went to the late Ayatollah Milani, Sayyid Hadi Milani in Mashhad. And he said, I have some money and this is my money. What is your advice? How to use this money? He said, I give you advice, but you might be blamed by people. Some people will blame you. He said, no problem. Agha said, next to the shrine in that time, there is a need for public washroom. There was not enough. And people who go there, they need a place. So he built a multi-floor washroom. But some people then blamed him, and they, even not knowing, they said this money must be not good that is spent in making toilets. They don't understand that building a mosque next to the shrine was not good. There was no need for making mosque next to the shrine, but there was need for making toilet next to the mosque. Yeah? So sometimes building a toilet is priority, because there are many zawar, many people there, they need a place. So we need to see what is more needed. Sometimes people even don't understand the rules about reward. For example, we know that making masjid is great. And as soon as you make till end of time that this masjid remains, you will get rewarded. Yeah? Even if you have put a brick, for example, whatever. But this doesn't mean that we just add to the mosques. It needs hikmah, it needs wisdom. So if you go to someone who is alim but not wise and say, I come from this city, from US or Canada or UK, etc., and I have money, is it good to build a mosque? If he's alim and not wise, he says, yes, of course, making masjid. And he lists for you hadith about reward for making masjid. But if he is wise, he would not give you the same answer. He asks you, tell me how many people are there in that city? How many mosques are already there? What is the distance between them? Do you have a school? Do you have orphanage? Do you have other facilities? Yeah? So you cannot just say, build a mosque. Even if there is already mosque, sometimes building another mosque is dividing community. Not only you don't get reward, you will be questioned by Allah that you are making another mosque next to the mosque which is already there. And there is no need. Sometimes there is need. With unity, we say, okay, our population is very much increased. We need 2 mosques. And in coordination, we make 2 mosques. That's fine. But sometimes just is competition or just lack of coordination. Yes.
I think you answered. I was going to ask you if there's one imam that a lot of people go to his masjid. Is it his duty to build a new masjid, or just no masjid and people go to the other ones? That's the kind of answer.
Yeah. My idea is that in every city, the Shia should have a council. They should elect people, and the council should decide that how many mosques we need, where we should have them, okay? How big they must be. Nowadays, normally these decisions are made by individuals, or even sometimes just one family decides to open a new mosque. And this cannot continue, like this. It should be collective decision. Then we have a discussion about 2 levels of planning. We need to have executive planning and strategic planning. Executive planning deals with short-term projects within a greater framework where the aims have already been set. It might concern organizing an event, for example, testing a new product, exploring a new market, starting a public campaign, starting a madrasa, whatever. So it's something that you found that this is compatible with your aims and objectives and you want to do it, you need executive planning. But strategic planning is the process of establishing overall goals and direction. It includes reviewing past work and challenges assessing the current situation, considering capacities and opportunities, and finally defining a strategy for the coming years. The story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam in the Quran provides us an example of strategic planning. He decided the course of action for the 7 years of abundance and then subsequent 7 years of scarcity, following those 7 years. And then for a year after scarcity. Thus it was a 15-year plan. Features of strategic planning. 1, the decisions are made at the highest level. Not every staff makes decision for strategic planning. 2, the purpose, function, and efficiency of the entire organization, not just specific parts. The entire organization are examined and potentially revisited. For example, we might have a primary school and want to expand by adding a higher school to it. Or due to experience, we may want to change it into a higher school and let another new organization take care of the primary education in the community. Or we might have a business that is no longer viable and therefore decide to close it and commence another business. So these are strategic decisions. Need a strategic planning. A strategic planning is also long term. It's not for 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. For both existing resources and potential future needs should be taken into consideration. Sometimes we can discover opportunities for growth by looking beyond current material resources. For example, our present financial situation might not be favorable for development and expansion. But in the past few years, we have gained the confidence and trust of enough people to be able to obtain a loan or to form a new partnership. So you don't have cash now, but you have credit, you have reliability, reputation, or people are happy to do partnership. Of course, we do not need growth for its own sake at the expense of more important things. So growing for the sake of growing, no, but if it's needed. So if there is a chance to grow comfortably, we should use this. Number 5, strategic planning entails higher risks. Normally, there is no strategic planning without risk. I always say, if you want to make success, you need to have measured risks. If you don't want to take any risk, you remain, stuck. Even, for example, coming for ziyarah, you have to take some risks. Yeah, we came to Qom for a study. We were not guaranteed that we will receive salary, job, housing, etc. Yeah, we had to take some risk. If you want to take no risk, you should sit at home and do nothing. But even that is risky. There is no work without risk. But if you want to be very safe, you cannot make good progress. So you should always be able to, good leaders know that sometimes they have to take risk, but they do it carefully. And actually lots of, profit businessmen take when they take risk. Yeah? For example, there is a land which is very cheap, but they do risk assessment and say, okay, if I buy, what's the harm, what is the benefit, and then they buy and they make good profit. So we should not confuse these two types of planning and apply familiar patterns to something which needs a higher level of insight and commitment. Once there is a strategy in place, changing track simply because a new idea or new trend emerges can be quite destructive. Unfortunately, we have sometimes tendency to keep changing plans. As soon as especially imam of masjid or a manager of the organization changes, they bring new plans, new ideas. This is not good. So every 5 years to 10 years, maybe we need to revisit our strategic plans. Not every year, not with the change of every manager. Then there is a spiritual aspect of planning. As much as we may emphasize the importance of a rational approach, the spiritual side of planning is of equal importance. In Islam, we know that any good endeavor needs barakah and tawfiq. So this is what makes us different from seculars. Yeah, they don't have the concept of barakah or tawfiq. So here we have discussion about barakah, but maybe I leave it for tomorrow. So inshallah, about barakah and tawfiq we will talk, and then maybe another inshallah lesson of the book. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Any question?